Hello again, this is Jasmina. I'm going to talk about the design of a single-family residence, and this is not built yet, but this will be built on an empty lot, so it's a completely new build. The very first thing I need to say is no house has perfect feng shui. Even if you are able to activate one of the special formations of the flying stars or the purple white, you will still have the chi men to deal with. And the chi men can't really be cured, and there will be certain areas of your house that are better than others. So it's never going to be perfect. That's an important thing you need to know. In general, the shape of your lot will dictate the facing direction of any house that can be built on that lot. If you have a very big lot, you may have a little more play in a facing direction, especially if it's a corner lot. But in general, the smaller your lot, the more restricted your facing direction can be. You do not want to try to force a different facing direction for a house on a lot that's too small to do that. And the reason is, when you do that, you typically really reduce the amount of chi that can get into the house because your lot just won't accommodate it properly. And when you limit the chi flow, you limit the good areas of your house, how much good they can give you. It's much better to let your lot dictate your facing direction and make sure that that lot is in a good direction for you. That's the way to deal with it, not trying to force the house to fit on a lot that's not appropriate for it. The best time to contact me if you're building a new house is before you even buy your lot. Once I have your information, I can tell you good facing directions that have to do with 8 mansions, and this will help you decide what direction your property needs to face. And that is from basically usually from being at the center of your property looking towards the road. There are some other conditions, but at least start with that. And if it's in one of your good directions, we can go on to the next step and maybe think about this could be your new property. The second thing we look at is external landforms. So I want to know whether or not you can see a mountain or a hill, or even higher ground, maybe it's not quite a hill, anywhere from where you are in your property. And if you cannot see a mountain or a hill, and that includes the case where other buildings are blocking the view of mountains, then you don't want to buy that property. But if you can see a mountain or a hill, then that's like check mark number 1. This is still in the running. The next thing you want to look for is water. Can you see water from that lot? Most of the times you won't be able to, but if you can see natural water, it's great. But if you can't, then we would be putting in a water feature. But you have to make sure that the lot's big enough for you to be able to have a water feature. Once I have this is sort of like the first pieces. And then when we're thinking about, okay, how are we going to design the house? Then I look at these things. I look at your flying stars for the reasonable facing directions for that lot. The smaller the lot, the smaller the possible facing directions are. But for every flying star chart, you actually have 8 possible chi men charts. And I'm sorry, 6 possible chi men charts. And now the purple white change every year, and this isn't so important, but these are the 2 things that I focus on when I start designing what goes into the house. If you're very lucky, your house address will actually give you a permanent positive formation, such as either a pearl string or a parent string. And during period 9, all houses with definitive facing directions have the possibility of being a 7-star robbery formation. Now, you do need the appropriate landforms, and if your lot is rather small, about half of those houses are knocked out of contention because they just can't accommodate what needs to be done. But if you can form the 7-star robbery house, that's very good. It sounds like a terrible formation, but it makes your house a very good house for at least 180 years. So this is something that's, really good to have if you can have it. When I design things inside your house and what direction your front door faces, I look at your personal 8 mansions of the people living there. And this is just for directions, not sections of the house, but for directions. And the thing that I'm going to show you is a design that only applies to one house of a particular facing direction and one door location, and for people with just one qua number. So you shouldn't take this as, oh, this is a good design. It's only good for a very small number of conditions. This is the basic plan of the house. It may be tweaked a little bit here and there, but it's pretty much finalized. We do have some local requirements that require every room have an accessibility to the door for someone in a wheelchair. And this means that our hallways are quite large so that a wheelchair can turn around, and that's assuming we actually have benches here. So it's actually extra wide. And the same thing here, this will most likely be a mudroom. The general area here is to be vaulted, and that probably will include the kitchen too. This area won't be vaulted because it would feel like a well if it were. And I have to decide what to do with this area. The walls here are quite thick. They are made out of ICF, which is an abbreviation for insulated concrete forms. There are several advantages to using this, and you can build as a first-time person using these ICFs, and it's actually pretty easy. You do have to have a good design already pre-planned, but it's not hard to do. You have to be careful. You have to make sure you put in all the right supports as you build it, but the only other thing you need to worry about is to have a professional pour the concrete into the center of these walls. And the advantages of this system is the walls are very strong. They're actually better than wood stud walls for earthquakes. They are also extraordinarily quiet, and so long as you have good quality windows, you will still have a very quiet house. They are also extraordinarily insulative compared to a standard 2x6 wood stud wall, which is pretty much standard these days. You can think that this area might be quite dark, and you'd be right. There are a couple ways to solve this. One way is to put in skylights, which to me is not ideal because I have never known skylights not to leak. There are a couple manufacturers who claim they have non-leaking skylights, but the ones I've read only offer a 10-year warranty. And if you have to have someone on your roof dealing with your skylights every 10 years, that's not really great. I don't consider them as leak-free skylights. The way we're going to deal with this is differently. This upper area here of the house will be a standard single-story height, and the roof line will be a single story height roof line, whereas this bottom 2/3 will be 2 stories high. It will at least have a roof that high, but we are not planning to put in a second story. But what that means is this wall here will have a lot of area that's above this roof line, but below this roof line. And that's where we're going to put in windows. What you see here is an extraordinarily rough drawing. I'm sorry it's so crude, but that would be what you would see if you were standing above this image looking towards the house, like this arrow shows. This area here is the upper portion, that's a single story. This area here is this 2-story, basically 2-story equivalent roof line. This area here with the G, this is a garage. This garage is located in through here and extends back quite a ways. I don't show it in the diagram because it's not important to Feng Shui. We do plan to have a balcony in the back of the house, which is here on the left of this floor plan. And we will of course have deck furniture and so forth up there. But we do not want to have to haul that furniture up and down the stairs, which will be outside, every time we have a windstorm. So we plan to have a small storage room in this area, which will be basically above this bathroom. And that will allow us to just roll the stuff in and we don't have to worry about it. These are the windows I was talking about adding. This window should be able to light up the area that is on the second floor, that storage room. So now that I have my floor plan, or if I have yours, I start overlaying charts. The numbers in each one of these areas are the flying star numbers. These words above and below that are Chi-Min properties, and these are the 2 most important properties. They're semi-color coded. If they're green in general, they're good. If they're red, they can be used, but they have to be used with care. Sometimes they're actually really good to use. For example, if your job is in sales, it's great to have a harm door. This is the kitchen, so if you wanted to start a home baking business, this would actually be a good location for a kitchen. The delusion door, especially with the moon, is really good if you are doing educational things. If you happen to be in witness protection, I wouldn't want to put you in a room with a scenery door because this makes you more observable to others. So even green can be a danger under very special circumstances. But this is the basic start of how I start analyzing. The purple-white charts are also important, but since they change every year, it's not worth putting them into this presentation because they will be invalid in less than a year. This house will not be occupied until we are in period 9, and period 9 starts on February 4th of 2024. I'm not sure the house will be finished by then, but even if it is finished before then, we will not move in until then, because then we guarantee this is a period 9 house. I designed this house to comply with the physical requirements of the 7-star robbery formation. And this is probably the one with the most difficult formation to do inside the house, that is the structure of the house. But the nice thing about period 9, so long as your house has a definitive facing direction, you will be able to take advantage of some of these forms. That is, every house with a definitive facing direction has some level of the 7-star robbery formation. In this case, ours isn't perfect. It's about 75%. But even though we have the right setup, it's still not going to give us any good effects until we can activate it. And that's true for any of the good formations. To activate, you need to have visible mountains in the area of your house. For this particular one, it's best to have a mountain that you can see when you're at the front door. In our case, if we're standing inside looking directly out, we can see a mountain. And in fact, we have lots of mountains. So we have a lot of good energy for period 9. We have some very small mountains up here that are almost invisible, so we don't really use those. We have lots of large mountains all the way around here. We have another mountain range back here, and we have a couple mountains on this side. So we have no shortage of mountains. Now, in Feng Shui, mountains include hills and higher ground. We just don't have a good single word in English for that. But remember, mountains mean also hills and higher ground. But this is only half of the activation we need to do. The other half is we need visible water. We do live close enough to a river that we can see the banks of the river that is on the other side. We can see down the bank a ways, but in general, we don't have enough water to be able to see it. Although when we have big enough rainstorms, yes, we do. But we need permanent water. So we are going to put a water feature in. A small water garden is good enough. These lines, these solid lines, which are a little hard to read, but these solid lines divide generally large divisions, like north, south, east, west, and all the other directions in between. So these are 45 degrees. Now, they are subdivided into 15-degree things, and that's these dashed lines. These lines extend beyond your property line even, but if we extend this line to the property line and this line to the property line, if we put the water feature anywhere in there, we will have activated, fully activated our 7-star Robbery formation. Now it's only about 75% of the strongest it could be, but we're lucky. And this truly is pure luck. The house's address happens to create a permanent pearl string formation in the purple-white charts. Now the purple-white charts change every year, but this formation stays the same. If you live in an apartment or a condo, your purple-white chart is done a bit differently. It is found by looking at the floor you're living on and where your door is located. Whereas for a house, it has to do with the house's address number, just the number, not the words. So there are apartments and condos that also have this same permanent pearl string formation. That actually adds at least 25% to make this a super strong, permanently good house. And we were somewhat lucky because I bought this land before I knew all this. So, but again, no house has perfect feng shui. So here's the negative things. So the last page was all about the positives overall for the house. These are more limited. This room here does not receive qi from the main door. And you can't have good things be activated unless it does. But this is actually pretty easy to fix. Also, the Qi properties for the important rooms are not all positive. Here in the kitchen, we have some somewhat negative. You know, these actually are not great to have in the kitchen, but there's a reason I put the kitchen there, and I'll talk about that in the next few slides. So I'm going to go over the main or the important places in the house one by one. One important thing is the main door, and this main door will have an effect on your entire house. This is a period 9 house, and these two, as long as we are in period 9, these two numbers, and it's in in the flying stars, if you haven't listened to my overview presentation, it's the two small numbers in the flying stars that are important. Despite this is bigger, it doesn't matter. It's the two small ones that we really care about. And so long as we're in period 9, this is great. And this would still be true even if we could not activate the 7-star robbery formation. So the Chi-Men properties of chief and life for the area where we have the front door is fantastic. The chief protects the occupants from harm, and to have the life door with it, that makes it even better. And we did get lucky. When I bought this property 10 some years ago, I did not know Chi-Men Feng Shui. And there are a lot of houses in a lot of different directions that don't have this combination. Some do, some don't. And if it had a bad combination, then I would not have designed this house with the door here. I would have maybe put it here or someplace else. So the reason why I've laid out the house this way is actually because I am taking advantage of what I see in the Feng Shui. And that is the advantage of building from scratch. But oftentimes you can modify existing houses and at least get a couple of these things right. And if you can get your front door right, usually that takes care of a lot of problems in your life. The other nice thing is the main door faces a direction that is in the couple's health and well-being's direction. Now this comes from the personal 8 mansions. They both happen to share the same qua number, so their personal 8 mansions are identical. And I will admit this is relatively rare. Most couples do not share the same 8 mansions. And since we can see mountains from the front door and we will be having a water feature placed, even if this wasn't laid out properly for a 7-star robbery formation, during period 9, this would still be a really, really, really good house because you'd activate both the sitting star and the facing star. So this would be a good house for money and health and relationships. And that's without the 7-star robbery formation. But of course, we are activating that. So we make it even a better house. This is the kitchen. And the Flying Star combo is fantastic for a kitchen. It is good for support of good health and the opportunities for better health. So if we have anything come up, we'll find the right doctors, we'll just have the right medicines available to us. If we need an operation, it will work. I mean, it's very, very good. The kitchen has to do, this is what governs your health, is the kitchen. Again, the Chi-Men properties aren't great, but it doesn't take a lot to prevent the negative Chi-Men properties from causing problems. Since this is a kitchen, what these negative things would have a tendency to make us have a worse diet over time. So we just have to, like every 6 months, think about, has our diet changed? Do we have to, get a little better? Should we be more careful about what we eat? You do that every 6 months, you take care of this problem. So the cooktop is located in a good subsector. It's located right here. If the cooktop were located over here or anywhere here, it wouldn't be so good. It wouldn't harm the people that are living here now, but if other people live here or move here, it could cause problems. And the problems would be associated with their health, usually with food. So they could develop an eating disorder, or they could become allergic to certain foods. So it could cause problems. But with the cooktop here, none of this is a problem. It's okay for everybody. This location here is the bedroom, and the flying stars promote wealth. It's a bit wasted for a bedroom, but if somebody happens to be staying in this guest room and work has to be done, we can set up a temporary desk in here, and it won't hurt our opportunities for our career and our wealth. So this is good that we have this as a second possibility. The Chi Min properties are fantastic. We have harmony, which, like it sounds, will promote good relationship between the couple. The scenery door will mean we will remain attractive, physically attracted to each other forever. I mean, this is, even as we grow old and everybody will think we're old fogies and very unattractive, we will still find each other attractive. So the bed placement is quite good. It is located in an area of the house where we have a good longevity and this has to do with the house, not with the personal 8 mansions, but it's in a good location for longevity. Now, the house itself is facing the direction for health, and so is the main door. And then you have the bed in the location for longevity. All that together makes it a very, very good bedroom. And the relationships are good. And this is a good second location for a home office when needed. So altogether, this is a very good main bedroom. So this area is the home office / guest room. And since we are going to be activating the 7-star robbery formation, this number 2 ceases to be an illness star and will become a permanent wealth star. So this is very good for home office. The Chi Min property of 9 Earth promotes this to be a good room for someone involved with property. That can be a real estate agent, a construction worker, an architect, a designer, and even someone who does Feng Shui, because Feng Shui covers the earth portion of Chinese metaphysics. So that's why it's good for someone who practices Feng Shui. The open door, fantastic for career. The desk happens to face the couples. They actually have the same Quan number, so it's the same one, but it faces a good direction for self-confidence and good decision making. There will also be a water feature outside here, which also helps with the good chi for earning money. So altogether, this is a very, very good home office, and it's a fine guest room too. Now, this room is also good when you look at the flying stars and the Chi Min properties. It makes it a great room for family to gather. It also is a very good room for deep thinking and academic studies. It's a really good room. However, if you remember, Chi does not enter this room with the way it's currently set up. This is when we do Chi manipulation. So the way we use Chi manipulation is we, in effect, change the entry to the room. You want to put something here. It has to be big enough so that you aren't walking in from, across this way. It has to force you to walk into about here and then get into the rest of the room. So this can be a bookshelf. It doesn't have to be terribly tall, but it should be reasonably tall. But it could be a chair. We could even move the piano over. And that all that will do is that will cause the real entry of the room to move to here, and then it becomes good. Now the rest of the rooms, the bedroom, and the kitchen, because there's no real wall here, they all receive qi. And in both bedrooms, both the desk and the bed receive qi. And in this bedroom, the bed located here receives qi, and so does a desk located here. So qi is flowing to all the important places in the house once we place something right here. These other rooms don't need any manipulation. They are good as they are. Only this room does. And when you do that, all these good things now become activated. Without energy entering this room, it's just a room and doesn't help you with anything. It's basically neutral. Houses that are yet to be built have the best chances of being really great houses. And that's what I've done here. I had a piece of property and chose a reasonable facing direction. And then I found out what charts I had, because there are variations. I mean, I'm not always stuck with one, but I found one that I liked, and I liked the way it looked. So if you have a lot, if it's a small lot, you usually are restricted to a single facing direction. It's determined by the way the lot looks. If you happen to be on a large corner lot, you often have the chances of having 6 different possible facing directions. The facing direction will determine what your flying star chart looks like. But for every facing direction, you have 6 different Qi charts. And that depends on what direction your door faces. So for most lots, there are somewhere between 16 and 36 possible charts. And so the job is to pick out the best ones. I think I might be a little crazy not to charge more for a new house design, because it's actually quite a bit more difficult. If you have an existing lot or existing house, you already have a lot of things fixed. And then it's a matter of seeing what the possibilities are. So yes, if you have an existing house, your choices are quite a bit more limited. You usually cannot change the facing direction of your house unless you live on a corner lot. And even if you want to do that, it's often quite expensive, because there's a lot of modification that needs to be done to do that. The best case scenario in an existing house is that you have an unactivated special formation. And all we have to do is activate it, and then your house will become much better. Next best case scenario is we can do some reasonably priced modification to create a special formation. That's the second best. But in many cases, we may be stuck with this. We do mitigations of existing problem areas, and you do that with elemental cures. And then this allows you to get a better job, have a better relationship, and this will get you into being able to move to a better house. And that's basically my goal, is to get you into the best house that you can afford. So that's basically it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please feel free to contact me if you're interested in a similar thing, or see what you want or what I can do with your current house. Thank you again.